Let me say to all of you that are mothers, happy Mother's Day. I am convinced that besides Jesus who walked this earth, there's never been a more influential person than mothers. I owe all that I am that is good in me to my mother, I believe. You're very important, and whether you are a mother and those out there that are watching us, whether you're a mother because of biology, giving birth to a child, or because you made a decision to love a child that you did not give birth to, you can't imagine how important you are. You know, we just finished up a great series of lessons, Brother Bill and Brother Jimmy, about telling our story and telling the story of Jesus and putting those two together. So I appreciate that. It's been very good. You know, last year, before the pandemic, I was asked to teach, and I said, okay, I will. I get really nervous, but I think it's important for me to do it. And then when the pandemic hit, we started having virtual class online, and we only had 2 guys that were out in the auditorium, and we was watching it online. And then Brother David came to me and said, hey, would you like to teach online? And I said, David, it's hard enough, but you know what? You've got a camera that is recording everything that I say, and I'm just not good with that. So he said, okay, well, we're going to start having classes later on back in the fellowship hall. I said, okay, I'll do it. So here I am, but guess what? We have a camera in here now. So let me just say this. If you at home feel like that I have said something or I've just messed it all up, I want to remind you our equipment here is not perfect. And what you are experiencing is a glitch. So whenever I'm asked to teach, I kind of think, what do I believe that will help me and help others? And today, I definitely feel like, and for the next few lessons that I'll be sharing with you, that this is something that we really need. Most of you already know that my favorite chapter in the Bible is 1 Corinthians 13, and that it tells us all about what true, real love should look like. And I want us to go ahead and read that. And I know I have taught about that before. I'm not going to be teaching about love coming from this time. But I want us to read that and let that, I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from. So in 1 Corinthians 13, I will read it. I may speak in different languages of men or even angels, but if I do not have love, then I am only a noisy bell or a ringing cymbal. I may have the gift of prophecy. I may understand all the secret things of God and all knowledge, and I may have faith so great that I can move mountains. But even with all these things, if you do not have love, if I do not have love, then I am nothing. I may give everything I have to feed the poor, and I may even give my body as an offering to be burned. But I gain nothing by doing these things if I do not have love. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous. It does not brag, and it is not proud. Love is not rude. It's not selfish. It does not become angry easily. Love does not remember wrongs against it. Love takes no pleasure in evil, but rejoices over the truth. Love patiently accepts all things. It always trusts, always hopes, and always continues strong. Love never ends. There are gifts of prophecy, but they will be ended. There are gifts of speaking in different languages, but those gifts will end. There is the gift of knowledge, but it will be ended. These things will end because this knowledge and these prophecies we have are not complete. But when perfection comes, the things that are not complete will end. When I was a child, I taught like a child. I thought like a child. I made plans like a child. When I became a man, I stopped those childish ways. It is the same with us. Now we see as if we are looking into a dark mirror. But at that time, in the future, we shall see clearly. Now I know only a part, but at that time I will know fully as God has known me. So these three things continue forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. If this is what my love for others should look like, shouldn't I expect God's love for me to have the same characteristics? If that doesn't make you feel special, valued, precious, loved by Him, are you really alive inside? Last year, I was honored to perform my nephew's wedding, Drew. And when they first asked me, I said, I'm not a minister. I can't do that. And they said, things have changed now. You can basically get married over the internet, believe it or not. I'm saying that you can fill out the paperwork and become legally married. And now you don't have to be a minister to perform a marriage ceremony. So they asked me, I felt honored. But some of what we just read about love is what I spoke and asked them, is this the kind of love you're going to have that we read? I believe this ought to be, we have the little sayings on our walls, the pictures at home, that this ought to be one of them. And that every couple that's considering getting married should commit to each other with these words. I believe if you do that, if you live that way, if that's what your love looks like, your marriage can't hardly fail. And the reason that's so special to me is because I had love all mixed up as a young man, and I learned a lot, and I'm still learning. But the word I want to pick out of that, because it was one of the words that says, these remain forever, is hope. So that's what I will be speaking to you on. Because when we hear the word forever, we better pay attention. What is hope? Hope to many is just a word like love. And we are cautioned about using that word casually. James 2:16 says, and you say to him, God be with you. I hope you stay warm and get plenty to eat. You say this, but you do not give that person the things he needs. Unless you help him, your words are worth nothing. What do we find the definition of hope to be in the dictionary? It is to cherish a desire with anticipation, to want something to happen or be true, to desire with expectation of attainment or fulfillment. Hope is an optimistic state of mind that is based on an expectation of positive outcomes with respect to events and circumstances in one's life or the world at large. Now, this is what most in the world think of hope as being. But I hope to share with you things that maybe you haven't thought about that hope might also consist of. Why do I think we need to speak about this? Because everyone believes in hope. Not all people believe in God and Jesus. We know that. And when you mention to them, maybe you want to bring up that conversation, and you start mentioning God or Jesus or a religion where you go to church, people just turn you off. But people say hope all the time. And we should key in on that word. And we can take our experiences that we've had that dealt with hope, listening to what they're hoping for, and trying to say, especially when they're up against it, when they're feeling kind of hopeless, we can say, I've been where you are. And let me share with you how I dealt with it. And to us, many of us, that's kind of easier than, are you saved? And taking the ball and rolling with that one. So it's easier to kind of get the person, in my opinion, to open up to us instead of shutting down. Do you realize how many times you mention the word hope? I'll give you a few examples. I hope you have a good day. I feel sick. I hope it is not the virus. I hope I don't have to go to the doctor. I hope he doesn't send me to the hospital. I hope they don't put me on a ventilator. I hope I don't die alone. I hope I'm on time. My kids or the ones I love are safe and that they are not getting sick. That COVID goes away. I hope that I never run out of toilet paper again. I hope I don't lose my job. I get a raise. I can pay my bills. The car won't break down. The heater, the air conditioner, the hot water heater, the washer, the dryer, the refrigerator don't break down. You know, you usually start thinking about these things, and you usually start using that word hope when you hear that funny sound. You smell that funny smell. You feel something different in your chest, and you start saying the word hope a lot more. I hope I don't get in trouble, that I won't make a mistake, that my team wins another national championship. I hope the hurricane won't harm me or my home. The freeze won't cause my pipes to burst. I hope that they will become a Christian, that I can help, that I wake up tomorrow, that God loves me, that I make Him happy, that I am forgiven, that my real home is in heaven. We use the word all the time. And let's let it be a signal word when we hear others use that word to help them to have the kind of hope that we have. Because if they're not saved, they can't have it. And I'm going to point that out. What's another reason why I believe that we should teach on hope, that we should be very familiar with hope? Because 1 Peter 3:14 says, But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to anyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have. Are you ready? When they ask you, are you ready? We're told to always be ready. Isn't the best kind of hope that is realized, hope that is fulfilled? And what I'm hoping in this class is that you're willing to tell your story about a time in which you hoped for something and that hope was fulfilled. Or what are you even hoping for today? And like Bill tried to get us to, let's practice on each other. I think we can gain a lot if we start talking to each other about this. Another reason to study this, we're living in a country, a world that has seen so much hope lost. Many feel hopeless. What about COVID? How many people have we lost? How many people lost jobs? How many kids did not get to spend their last year in school and graduate in the normal manner with all the celebration of a lot of hard work? How many vacations were canceled? Marriages delayed? I think the thing that scared me the most, that if I got COVID or somebody that I loved got COVID and they went into the hospital, that I would not get to be there with them, or the person I want to be with me would not get to be there with me. That's what I worried about the most, is being alone, or that person being alone. Don't you want others to know that you have a new and better hope? A living hope? Your whole life, everything you have been through, has given you a unique perspective on hope. There is only one you. I like it, and David and I talk about this, and others talk about this. I like it when you're thinking about, what do I study, and you start studying to get ready to prepare, and then you start hearing the word used more, and even in other classes, you're like, hey, that's what I'm going to talk about, and you think, maybe I'm on the right path with picking this subject. And today on my Bible app, I looked at verse of the day, 1 Corinthians 13. You can't argue with that. Some of what we've been talking about Hebrews in our Wednesday night class, and I would like to tell you a couple of scriptures that I had planned to talk about that we have read. Hebrews 6:17 says, God wanted to prove that His promise was true. He wanted to prove this to those who would get what He promised. He wanted them to understand clearly that His purposes never change. So God proved His promise by also making an oath. These two things cannot change. God cannot lie when He makes a promise, and He cannot lie when He makes an oath. These things encourage us who came to God for safety. They give us strength to hold on to the hope we have been given. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, sure and strong. And we spent a little time talking about that anchor, and anchors are very important. If you've been on the boat, you know. And you want to have an anchor you can trust. I have been on boats that did not have good anchors. And I used to do a lot of scuba diving in places or during times I shouldn't have been because of the weather. And maybe go down, and I'm always looking for that anchor rope. I want to go down on that anchor rope because we dropped that anchor where our destination was. And so we're hoping that that anchor, where it was set, that's where it's going to be. But that's not the end of it. As you're diving, conditions can change, or the water can be murky, currents can be strong. And the thing you want is to be able to find that anchor line when you go up. So it becomes your focal point. I'm going over here trying to spear some fish, and when I turn around, I want to know that's where my anchor is. And I want my anchor to be holding strong. And I want it to be to where I can grab on that line, ascend to the surface, and be in my safe place. That anchor is very important. I have come up before and not seen the boat, or seen the boat sinking. So, anchors are important, and this is so encouraging. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul. So many people out there are their hope is in anchors that cannot sustain them, that cannot hold them where they need to be. And we need to help others understand there's a better hope, a better anchor. Hebrews 7:19 says, "For the law made nothing perfect. And on the other hand, there is a bringing in of a better hope, through which we draw near to God." Now that is a real hope. Something that allows us to draw near to God. And we're told in the Scriptures that if we draw near to Him, He draws near to us. It is a win-win. You never know the difference we can make in someone's life by giving them a little hope. Can I tell you a story? We've heard that quite a bit, right? Several years ago, Justin and I, we go out west usually to go on vacation, and we wanted to make this climb to Sky Pond. You have to go by the Lake of Glass. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? It's far, and you know it's probably around 10,000 feet in elevation. We tried it, but there was still so much snow, and it was so dangerous that even though we hoped we would make it, it was too dangerous. So last year, when we were trying to decide where do we go on vacation since so much is shut down in the country, we found out Rocky Mountain National Park was allowing you to get a pass. And if you could get there and be on that day you had passes, you could be in the park. I'm sorry. So we said, hey, let's go back. And since we're going in August, let's make that climb again. So we hiked, and it's tough. And then we finally get to a point to where there's a waterfall to where you have to rock climb next to the waterfall to get to the next level. And so I see people congregating around the base of that falls and the climb up. And you know, I am so, on the trail, I am so goal oriented. You know, I'm racing against the clock. And to see people in my way, you know, oh, great. So you watch people go up, some choose not to. I was worried about Justin. I wanted to make sure I told him where to find the toe holes and hand holes. So there was a young woman going up ahead of me, and she got halfway up, and she just seized. And she's so afraid to come back down or to go up. And I see her legs start trembling, so now I'm feeling bad for her, and I want to help. So I start climbing up, and I get behind her, and I said, I'm going to help you get there. And so I positioned my leg up underneath her foot where she felt like she was about to slip, and I said, just use my leg. No, I'll push you down. We'll both fall. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I said, use my leg. She did. She made a step and got to a safer place. I went around her, got above her, and then took her hand and pulled her up. Okay, so now Justin can come up. And when we get up there, she is just so thankful. She said, I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it without you. I said, all you needed was a little hope. You just need a little encouragement. I knew you could do it. So I thought, well, that's the end of it. Well, we go on hiking down the way a little bit, and we stop to eat some lunch, and this lady who I haven't seen on the trail came up to me and she said, hey, did you help my friend? I said, which one? She said, the one that was stuck. And I said, yeah, I helped her. She said, thank you. Thanks a lot. And so then here comes this lady that I had helped. And there again she says, there he is. There he is. That's the guy that helped me. And I'm like, all I did was help you get up the mountain. And she said, because we don't know everyone's story, right? I mean, we don't know what they're going through. And she said it was so important to me because she had lost a family member. And she said, I had told myself, I need to do this to honor that person. I think it was her nephew. And she is so emotional, and she said, you did it. And she's crying, and I'm getting emotional, and she said, people like you are what's going to help us get through this virus. And I'm like, do I have an S on my chest? Am I king of the mountain? And so one little thing that didn't take me over 5 or 10 minutes meant the world to her. And I think there's so many times that we can do that. We have opportunity and we don't. We see people that they may just, to us it's just nothing. Oh, you can handle it. But we don't know what they're going through. And we should be ambassadors of hope. We should be agents of hope. We just got to look for those opportunities. So, do we pray and then hope? Or is it we hope and we pray? Because those kind of work together in the life of a Christian, right? Because what sense does it make for us to pray for something we need or for something someone else needs and not hope that God has heard us and that God is going to answer? And I'll be honest with you. There are many times that I pray and I want God to answer it just like I ask Him to. I do not ask, but God, if it's your will, because I want what I believe I need. Because I don't want there to be another outcome that I don't know if I can deal with. And I believe that God listens to us and that He wants us to know that our prayers influence Him. We don't have because we don't ask, right? So we should have the confidence to hope for what we pray for. He wants us to. Anybody want to say anything? Because I haven't heard a word yet. I'm about out of time, but I want to tell you another little story about hoping and praying that happened last year. You may have to tell it. I'm always trying to get my wife to talk. She's a lot smarter than I am. Last year, when Emily, our youngest, was in the hospital getting ready to deliver Luke, we were excited because she invited us to be in the room with her. And I've been in the room with all four of my children. It's tremendous witnessing the miracle of new birth. There's nothing like it. I know it's not for everybody. I respect that. And though I've seen it in great detail, that was not the plan with Emily, but I was a part of that process. And so we go in there, and I kid around with my children a lot. And so when we're in there, and you know, she may groan a little bit, I come back and say, "Oh, come on, Emily, it's not that bad." You know? And, yeah, because I've been through it 4 times now, you know? But, you know, it's neat because you can watch all the instrumentation there, and I'm an instrument guy, you know. I look at those kind of things at work, and I'm watching the heart rate monitor. I see hers, and I see the baby's, and I see Emily's, and I'll see when the contraction starts to happen. I say, "Get ready, Emily, this is going to be a bad one." So how she has enough patience to tolerate me, I don't know. But, well, you know, everybody needs a little comic relief every once in a while. But the situation soon changed because I was watching her heart rate, and then I was watching the baby's, and then I saw the nurse doing the same thing. And, you know, the nurses are great at making you feel like everything's normal, everything's okay. But, you know, she's doing this with Emily, and she's looking over there. And I say, why is that different? Well, you know, it looks like the baby is, you know, when the mama's going into contraction, this happens and that happens. And we just need to see his heart. I was like, what? There's a problem? And so then, that becomes the focus. The baby's in trouble. And you start praying. And you start hoping. And you start asking God, let this go how I believe it needs to go. You know the outcome. He's the greatest little boy, greatest little baby you can imagine. But as it turns out, his cord was tied in a knot. And you've heard about the babies whose cord is wrapped around them and they're not getting the oxygen. His was tied in a knot. And as he was entering the birth canal, that knot was being compressed. So he wasn't getting what he needed from his mama. The nurse said, you know, we were overjoyed. And the nurse said, I don't think Emily knows how serious it was. Most babies don't make it in that situation. So when you can look back at the things that you have hoped for and prayed for and they have been answered, that is something you need to hold on to. That is where you can find your strength on your dark days. And that's why I'm hoping that we get more and more proficient, that we get more comfortable, that we get more dependent on that special kind of hope that God has given us. And the next time I'm with you, that's what we'll start talking about. I won't be with you next week. I start a shutdown. But hopefully in 2 weeks I'll be back with you. Thank you all for being here.